Well, hello, welcome to another video from our Mililani Minute series, and we're going through talking about questions and answers you can use with your children to teach truth. We're going through the book by Brian Dembowczyk called Cornerstones. It's 200 questions and answers to teach truth. We've been talking about some of the attributes of God. As I said a couple weeks ago, we began talking about the attributes. This is by no means an exhaustive list, although there are plenty of questions and answers about his attributes. Again, while it's not an exhaustive list, hopefully it does give you enough that you can begin talking with your children, begin asking them questions, and then as you ask the question, you allow them to answer, and then start talking. So what does that mean to you? How do you understand this? How does this look to you in your life? And let them ask you the same question. And I encourage you, if you have questions or you're unsure, come and talk to us. Again, I got to reach over here. Again, if you're unsure of these questions and answers, there is a parent guide that's set up like a devotional, and it'll take you through each and every question and give you plenty to digest and work through personally. And I would encourage you, read through that before you talk to your children. And so if you're unsure. So again, we've been talking about the attributes of God, and today we're going to go through the three omnis. All right, God is omnipresent, God is omniscient, and God is omnipotent. And so you have the three omnis. So omni means all. And so when we say he is omnipresent, he's all present or always present. When we say he's omniscient, it means he's all knowing. And omnipotent, that potent, means power. And so he's all powerful. He has all power. So let's get right into it. The first question for today is, what does it mean that God is omnipresent? What does it mean that God is omnipresent? God is omnipresent means he is not confined to a body and is everywhere at once. Okay, now we have to be careful about this one because there's a teaching that says that God is in everything and therefore everything becomes God. No, that's not what Scripture teaches. And so when we share that God is everywhere, it's not that everything becomes God. That's God is not a spirit hiding inside of this planet, and now everything here is only existent because God has somehow through manifestations created things. Well, no, this is real. We're here. I get it. When God said, "Let there be light," the light is not God. The light exists because of God. When God said, "Let us make man in our image," we are not God. We bear the image of God. But God is everywhere, and he is in all things, but he is not, he does not somehow turn everything into God. Okay, so again, the question, what does it mean that God is omnipresent? God is omnipresent means he is not confined to a body and he is everywhere at once. And so instead of being in one singular location, God is everywhere. His presence is felt in all places, whether up in heaven or in the depths of Sheol. The Old Testament says, you are there. He can be there because he is omnipresent. What does it mean that God is omniscient? Omniscient reads like omniscient, but what does it mean that God is omniscient? He is omniscient means he knows all that is, all that will be, and all that could be. Okay, so once again, what does it mean that God is omniscient? God is omniscient means that he knows all that is, was, all that will be, and all that could be. Okay, so when we talk about God's omniscience, does God know all of the different calculations as far as how things could have gone? All the what ifs? Yes, he does, and I would say that he could know all of those things. But knowing that God is completely sovereign, and we'll talk about that later, but the fact that God is sovereign means that he knows how things are going to happen. So God doesn't need contingencies. God ordains something to happen, and then he doesn't sit back and think of 32.5 million ways on, well, if this doesn't go according to plan, how can I make sure I hedge my bets here? God doesn't need to do that. He knows all that is, all that was, all that will be, and all that could be, in the sense that he knows exactly how things are going to go. He knows your thoughts. He knows your heart. He knows what you will do. He even knows all the potential things you might do. Now, again, in our finite mind, I think we say that so that we understand he does know the potentials. But knowing that God is sovereign, he doesn't need the potentials. God knows all things, past, present, and future. God knows it all. What does it mean that God is omnipotent? Very quickly, God is omnipotent means he can do anything that is according to his character. So when we say God can do anything, we have to add that caveat, anything according to his character. Because if he can do anything, that includes the potential for sin. Well, God is not sinful. God does not sin, and he cannot do anything that is against his character. So when we say God is omnipotent, he is all powerful. He is completely and totally able to do all that is according to his character. So if it fits within his character, you don't have to worry about whether or not God can make it happen. If it goes against his character, for instance, if you're asking God to do something that you know in your heart is really sinful for you to be able to do this, God's not going to do that. So we have to be careful when we tell our children, God can do anything. Well, anything according to his character. There are things that we want, that we say, God, I don't know why you didn't do that. I don't know why you weren't able to help me in that. Well, sometimes we want things that aren't consistent with God's character. And we need to remember God can do anything according to his character. So I hope these three questions, what does it mean that God is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent? I hope these three questions give you something to talk about with your children. I hope you have a good time or good night and a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow.